Goeienaand en welkom by nog 'n episode van Kwarantynwyn in die tuin saam met Elaine. So the wine for today is the Kruger family vineyards Palomino 2019, made by a good friend of ours, Johan Kruger. I met Johan once again around about 2007, basically on the hills of Potlaray, when he was still making some really good Chardonnay, and probably one of the first Merlots I really enjoyed. For the past few years, he's decided to become a little bit more of a family affair. Him and his wife Sophie basically runs Kruger Family Vineyards. That's for you.
Thank you.
And his first wine he did was, funnily enough, was a Chardonnay, and it was called Sans Chien, or which means without wood in French, but it also means without chains and basically without restrictions. And it's quite apt name for the first wine to do on his own. Now, Johan doesn't own a vineyard, he doesn't own a cellar, so he rents cellar space, he leases vineyards. So it frees him from the restrictions of just being bound to the farm. If he were to own one, he can get grapes from wherever he wants to. And he's also a guy that doesn't interfere much when it comes to winemaking, trying to keep it as natural as possible. And I almost want to say, I don't want to say simple, but clean. Understated.
Much
right?
like his personality, eh? He's also got that very understated charm about him.
Definitely. Yeah, no, Johan, I always think of him whenever we've got some lamb in the house, because we've always had some fantastic trips to Sutherland and the best scarp choppy. So we've got a little bit of a lamb poikie going on. So I thought it would be apt to open up something from him that we still have around. Now, grape variety is Palomino. Now, Palomino is not a very well-known or popular grape in South Africa. I think I read today that there's about 80 hectares planted of that in the country, so not a lot. It's also one of the old vine. It's also basically falls under one of the old vine wines, as this vineyard was planted in the early 70s. But records state that Palomino was first planted around about the 1920s in South Africa, and it was mostly for the production of either sherry or brandy, because it can be a fairly neutral wine with low acid, low fruit, which makes fantastic base wines, especially if you want to distill it. But then again, if these vineyards do get older, you tend to get something else out of it, with just so much more depth and a weight to it that's just not there when the vineyards are young. But yeah, I think Palomino got basically lost when we planted Chenin, and Chenin just gave you so much more fruit and more brightness. I think people just tend to move towards that. So luckily, some of these vineyards were forgotten and found again. Now, this vineyard is situated or located in the Piekenierskloof, which is to the northwest of Cape Town. In the Piekenierskloof Pass, about 700 meters above sea level, towards Citrusdal, that area. Also a part of the country where there is still quite a few of these older vineyards that's still around. The wine itself gets fermented in stainless steel and then spent some time in concrete egg and then older barrels as well. So once again, not a lot of flavor of oak. And it spends about 5 months on the gross lees, on the dead yeast cells, to, I think, also just to weight up that mid palate a little bit. Wow, the nose in itself is quite delicate. It's got some peach. It's got a bit of a savouriness to it. It's not really sweet, and it doesn't jump out of the glass. There's some bit of orange blossom.
I definitely smell way more savoury than sweet.
What I really like about this wine is just the entry. It is so delicate. It's so well balanced. The acid doesn't jump out and bite you on the side of the tongue. There's a richness, but it's not a creaminess that's on the
bottom.
bottom.
There's also tang though, hey?
Yeah, there is the acidity is still vibrant enough, but it's not
perfect
over the top, and it's just the finish just lingers. All those fruit flavors, that peach, once again a bit of pear, touch of that orange blossom perfume, it all goes in, and it's still beautifully dry. So from my side, I think this is going to be a great wine if it lasts a bit longer in the glass. Johan Kruger, hope you and Sophie are doing okay there in Somerset West.
And the little ones.
And the little ones. Thanks for a beautiful Palomino. Thanks for being one of, I think there's about 4 producers in total that does Palomino. Ardi, Badenhorst, Francois Haasbroek, Blackwater Wine, and then I know Ibn Sadi, and Ibn Sadi has it in a field blend with Chenin Palomino. So yeah, not a lot of that going around. If you can find some of it, please do. It was my find of 2020, and hopefully we will see a great 2020 vintage of this as well.
Yeah.
So enjoy the wines while you have it. Stay safe during lockdown. Hopefully soon we'll get something at least via online if the ministers can make up their mind. But until then, cheers.
Cheers.